let's turn to Paul Pelletier. He's an attorney, former federal prosecutor, and law professor at the George Washington University's Law School. Thank you so much for joining us, Paul.
It's my pleasure to be here, Elaine. Thank you.
First, I want to get your reaction to this development. It did take about 2 weeks for the Supreme Court to decide to take up this case. So I want to get your thoughts on that. And also, is this a win for Team Trump? Well,
it's certainly a win for Trump, because any delay in the potential for a criminal trial is a win for Trump. The decision's a little surprising to me. It was surprising to me. And that's because, if you remember, the Supreme Court originally, Trump tried to appeal, or the government tried to appeal directly to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court insisted that it go through the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals, as we all know, came down a couple of weeks ago with a 3-judge unanimous decision, very well reasoned, that of course the president doesn't have absolute immunity from his actions while in the White House. And then it surprised me in particular, even more so in particular, because the Supreme Court waited 2 weeks to make this decision. So it indicates to me that there were some internal deliberations, difficult deliberations at the Supreme Court as to whether to take this matter at all.
Well, discuss the decision and the impact this could have on some of the other many cases against Trump. What's the ripple effect here?
Well, there is a little bit of a ripple effect. Remember, this would impact, assuming, well, first of all, the delay is going to impact all of his federal criminal cases. His state cases will continue to go forward. There's a case in Manhattan that will continue to go forward, which doesn't have anything to do with anything he did while he was president. It has to do with criminal actions that he took before he was president, or alleged criminal actions. So this is only going to affect the federal cases that are presently lined up. There's a case in West Palm Beach that will be delayed. That trial hasn't really had a hard set date for it yet anyway, but certainly it's going to delay the insurrection case, which is pending in D.C., that was supposed to go to trial sometime in March. So it's going to actually have to be delayed, but the question is it really depends on how long the Supreme Court takes to decide. In my view, the Supreme Court is not going to find that he has absolute immunity for actions he takes while in office, but that's still going to take some time. So the question is, if the court comes back with a decision in May or June, can Judge Chutkan put it on the trial calendar and try it before the election in November of 2024? That's the big decision.
Yeah, I mean, so the date's been set for April 22nd, and that big question, can we expect a fair decision from the Supreme Court given the amount of what seems to be political support that Trump seems to have there?
Yeah, well, we shouldn't be thinking about political support when we talk about decisions of the Supreme Court. My sense is that they're gonna rule expeditiously. To me, it's a very easy legal decision. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals gave a very well-reasoned, thorough opinion that it would seem to me it would be impossible for the Supreme Court to overturn if they were acting non-politically, which I believe that ultimately they will. So I don't think it's going to take that long. It's hard to predict how long it's going to take for the Supreme Court to get an opinion out there. I thought it would have been very easy for them not to take the case. They chose not to do that. So everything's up in the air. My sense, though, is that an opinion in mid to early June is the most likely scenario.
All right, we'll have to see how that all shakes out. Paul Pelletier, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.